Finally, I got my hands on AMD's RX 6000 series GPUs, but not for long, of course, so it's better for me to just roll the intro. Hi guys, Matthew here and welcome back again to my channel. So yes, here it is, the Unobtainium RX 6800 XT in particular. I'll skip over what this graphics card brings in architecture-wise, it being 7nm Navi 21 GPU and so on, because we all heard about that multiple times. After all, it's been a few months since it launched, and there's a lot to cover beside that, so let's take a closer look at this particular model from Sapphire, the RX 6800 XT Nitro Plus. The elephant in the room is of course the fact that this is one huge graphics card, a triple fan, 2.5, actually 2.7 slot behemoth that weighs in at around 1.2 kilograms, and it's just a bit above 300 millimeters in length. Despite this sheer size, it actually doesn't flex that much, if at all, so the structural rigidity is on point here. Another thing that is on point is the black and silver look. It's pretty true to Sapphire's design language. Back of it looks like something that came from a science fiction movie, like an electrical panel on a spaceship, with these straight rough lines, cutouts and design details. The back overhangs a bit, and here they went with an airier looking solution. You can actually see how a part of the heatsink goes past the PCB of the card. The card is also pretty wide, so have that in mind in relation to chassis that you plan to put it in. And since we are back here, you can see 3 display ports 1.4, 1 HDMI 2.1, while there's no USB Type-C here, although they can be found on the reference models. Speaking of connectors, you will find 2 8-pin PCI Express power connections for hooking up the GPU to the power supply, while I saw it pulling anywhere from 270 to 300 watts. As for the other non-standard bits and bobs, there's a switch with 3 positions. 2 of them are for different BIOS profiles, OC profile, which I'm using throughout my whole use of this card, and a quiet profile, while the third option being the software control mode, where you can manage BIOS profiles via Sapphire's Strix utility in Windows 10. Lastly, it also carries an RGB header, so you can sync it up with the card's RGB lighting. And speaking of it, they did a pretty good job with this long side strip, and a couple of details and logo being lit up turned out being really uniform looking and not that much in your face. Taking a closer look to check out what is hidden below the outer metal plastic shroud and 2 100mm fans and middle opposite rotating 90mm fan, I was greeted by a big aluminum heatsink separated into 3 compartments and interconnected with each other with a total of 6 nickel-plated copper heat pipes. These are all meant for cooling the GPU die, where the middle compartment carries the completely copper contact plate, while for the 16-phase power design and memory chips we have a separate piece of aluminum heatsink with 3 smaller heatsinks on it. Strangely enough, there's no thermal pads on the back plate itself for transferring some heat onto from the components behind it. Since we are already talking about cooling, checking out the temperatures, when everything is set to auto on an open test bed, the GPU wouldn't pass 70 degrees Celsius, which is really good. I was planning to do noise normalized testing at 40 dB, but it turns out that under load, at least on an open test bed, it was already hitting exactly 40 dBs, so I didn't have to do that. By the way, I'm doing this type of noise normalized 40 dB test setup, so you can go back and forward between future and former reviews. And here is how that actually sounds. Checking out the performance with a 4608 shader count and 16GB of GDDR6 video memory on a 256-bit wide memory bus, this card is a true beast. Although we are all pretty much familiar with the RX 6800 XT series general performance, as it has been a while since it launched, I still had to convince myself of it, as this is the first RX 6800 XT graphics card that found its way to my testbed. Ever. And due to the whole you-know-what situation, I do not think I will get another that soon, if at all. Anyhow, as you can see here for yourself, 4K is not fit for this GPU, while you can push more than a decent amount of frames out. In a way, it makes everything playable in relation to high refresh rate monitors, especially in terms of lower resolutions like 1440p. I don't think you need my input in terms of the 1080p resolution, how that would look like. There's really no point of testing it out with this GPU, it's pretty much clear based just on these results here. Obviously, ray tracing performance is lacking, but that's not something that I would be too stressed about. If at all, it's just not worthy of the performance hit in general, even with the GeForce RTX graphics cards. The overall performance is a bit up compared to a reference model, as this one is factory overclocked, and bumping up the memory and GPU clocks even more with some manual overclocking will bring in around 3 to 5% of additional performance gain at 1440p, which is alright, nothing mind-blowing. It's how it has been for the last couple of generations, both with the red and green team when it comes to overclocking, average. As for the price, what price? For this? Availability? What availability? Yeah, you know what I mean, and I hope that you, a future viewer who is watching this video 6, 8, 10, 12 months from now, will have a much better situation than what we are in at this moment. I ended up really liking this particular RX 6800 XT aftermarket model from Sapphire, and although I don't have any comparison points in relation to other aftermarket models out there, based on this same GPU, not even with AMD's reference model, I do feel like somebody did a good job on it. It shows in multiple areas, plus their Nitro series tends to hit even more right notes from generation to generation. That's it for this time for me. Thank you once again for watching. If you find this helpful, please take a second to toss me a thumbs up, because that really helps a lot. And if you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe, and if you already are, be sure to press that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on a new video. And until then, catch you later, guys. And there's a lot to cover beside that, so let's take a closer look at this particular model from Sapphire, the RX 6800 XT Plus Nitro Plus, please.